Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to this fifth and final session of our study on a transformed life. And I hope it's been a great time for you so far and that you'll have a good session today. I want to introduce to you Lori Noteboom. Many of you know Lori. Lori's a member of our church and I guess has been for like 15 years or so, something like that. Came about the time I came to St. Luke. So I came in '06. So I think that's probably about right. But has been involved in so many things and we're just glad to have you here. She teaches, leads some of our Bible studies and has been involved in so many activities. So we're talking today about finding God in the ordinary. And I don't know what it means that they chose you as ordinary. I wouldn't take it personally. I find you to be extraordinary personally.
Thank you. I do too.
What do you think? So in a long time ago when Dr. Walter Underwood was the pastor and I was the youth pastor here, he preached a sermon that it's, if the fact that I can remember it 30 years later means it made an impact on me. It was called Those Awful Ordinary Days. And how you deal with the awful ordinary days. And they're not terrible days, they're not amazing days, they're just ordinary days. And how can you identify like times in your life when it seemed like life was just ordinary?
Yes. I have two sons and I remember maybe second and fourth grade and you just realize that you have another 8 and 10 years of exactly the same thing, right? There's no new babies. There's no new houses. We're just going to have a fall fair. We're going to have Thanksgiving. We're going to have Christmas. It's just, and we're going to do it all again. And it just seems like you'll never get out of it.
Yeah. I remember a moment in my life when I thought, I'd gone into the ministry to save the world and to all of those things. And I realized how much of my work life was going to meetings. Right. And I thought to myself, I don't remember this. This is not, I don't feel invigorated by this. I don't think it's a terrible thing, but it's it doesn't feel to me like I'm changing the world today. So
that's me cooking meals, right? Oh, it's breakfast again. Oh, it's dinner again.
Right. I don't see these meals over and over. They come every blasted day. It seems like that. Well, so how do we begin to find God in that ordinary stuff? Is there a secret to that? Do we is God in all that ordinary stuff? The question I often get asked is it okay for me to pray for a parking place? I'm driving down I'm driving around in the Christmas holidays and I'm like, oh, just God, give me a parking place.
Right.
And one school of thought is God is not interested in your parking place. God is
but what happens next is you say, never mind, God, I found one.
I found one, never mind.
I don't need you, God. I got it.
I don't need you, God. I got it. Yeah. I got it on my own. Yeah, that's exactly right. Are there ways that you have found to claim the presence of God in just that ordinary life?
I think for me, I found it a couple of ways. One, I think I realized that God wants to know how I really feel. And if I need a parking space or I need to get traffic to split so I can get to somebody to school on time, or, when I'm taking somebody to the doctor and I'm really concerned about something, I think he wants to know my truth. And so I try and constantly do that. And as I get it as a pattern, I realize that it's a conversation that I'm having all the time. It's not something where I just sit down at night and pray one time, right? It's a continual for me.
So it's being begin to see God as the recipient of your constant conversation.
And listening to him back, right? And not for his words to say, Laurie, do this, but just to feel it and to see it within the world. A few Lents ago, we did that study by Barbara Brown Taylor's book, like Altar in the World,
Altar in the world, right?
right? And you remember like seeing God within your world. If it's that nice nurse who welcomes you at that doctor's appointment you're really nervous about, right? Like that's God to me. Mm-hmm.
Right. If you begin to look for those things that seem like, or let me flip it a different way, to look at all things and see, oh, I wonder where God is in that, as opposed to like, okay, I'm looking around for God and maybe God's just in all of those things, but I'm just passing them by.
And I think often that's when I feel that was really a God moment, right? When you're looking for it in an unexpected time. When I'm walking my dogs and I run into a neighbor and we have a great conversation, and maybe I'm walking home thinking I really needed that right then, or maybe she or he is thinking the same thing, like, you know what, that just notice that someone saw me right then is something that I needed. And I just love those sweet moments during the day.
Yeah. So if you think about it, if you took out all of the ordinary moments out of your life and said, okay, God, you're going to be in those extraordinary ones. You're going to be in the moments when I'm in deep prayer in the morning, and you're going to be when I'm at church, and you're going to be when I'm having the hard conversations at work. But when I am returning emails, you're not there. And when I am, oh my gosh, the emails, right? You talk about the ordinary of life,
Right.
the emails that keep coming over and over and over, and
And
you
you
keep
keep
thinking,
unsubscribing, unsubscribe.
yeah, that's true. Uh, that's a good one. I finally you just give up, and
Right.
you know.
But
Um,
how often would you be really talking to God if that was the case, or seeing God in our world?
if what? Oh, if you took
If
out
you
all that
only
stuff.
did it at your
Yeah,
big
right.
things or at
I
night.
mean, you've left out 80%. God,
Right.
there's not a lot left. I
Do you
mean,
know,
there's just aren't that many of those. Um, top of the mountain or bottom of the sea moments in life. There just aren't. You know.
I have shared this before, but I had a sweet grandmother who told me before I got married that I should cut every tomato with love. That was her marital advice to me. And I thought that was so simple at the time, but now that I've been married 20 years, like I really realize what she meant, right? Fold every pair of socks with love, welcome, him home with love. When I come home, welcome him. It's just you have to have an intention to every simple action, because there's going to
Mm.
be a reaction either way. And I would hope that I would go in with a godly spirit, right? Like, as opposed to coming into a situation and saying, oh, what would Jesus want me to do here? I'm hoping that I already have the spirit of Jesus, so I just do it.
It's just part of the built-ins
Mm-hmm.
of your life. I
Mm-hmm.
think we sometimes, I'll say as a pastor, I I feel a little guilty because I think what I communicate to people sometimes too often is, you got to go change the world, man. You got to do something that matters. Come on, don't be just, you know, muddling through life. God's given you all these spiritual gifts. Go use them for God's glory, and that means, invent a corporation that ends world hunger or something. And really, that's not the
Not
call.
what it's about.
The call is to be a reflection of who Jesus is in every situation that you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is, we started this study with a conversation about identity, and what does it mean that your identity is in Christ rather than in what you do or what you accomplish or what you look like or whether you're married or all of those other things that we say the world tells us matter. And when we get that identity, I've shared with people before that, as part of a devotional, I often light a candle, and I say this candle accomplishes what it accomplishes by being what it is. It doesn't, make a plan. Today, I'm going to go out and light up world 7. It
Right.
just says, I'm a candle. That's what I'm going to do. And so I'm going to go through my day. And I really think that there's just so much of our day that, that is is so ordinary. And I think we also beat ourselves up on the other half of it to say, I ought to be feeling good about being ordinary all the time.
Mhm.
So, I don't think you have to be in this moment of ecstasy while I'm cutting a tomato.
No,
Right. It's about
but you're
recognize.
thinking, I'm feeding my family who I love with all of my heart this tomato, right? I don't know.
As
That's
best I can. That's
the best I
exactly
can.
right.
Exactly.
That's it.
Now eat the tomato.
Yeah, and I think part of it is our world we've come into. We live in the United States of America where we all have all of these choices all the time. And in so much of the world, they're born into a way of life. They have to live that way of life. They don't get to choose, am I going to be
Mhm.
a brain surgeon, or am I going to be a farmer? I was born a farmer. That's what I do. I farm. And so to say I was born a farmer, that's what I do. I farm, and I want to do it to the glory of God. This is the best this is who I am. This is what I do. And I'm going to do it to the glory of God to the best I can. And at the end of the day, the Lord will say, well done, good and faithful servant,
And I kind of find that very beautiful.
Yeah. I
It's
you
not
just,
complex. It's not complex. In my day, I'm going to come in contact with my neighbors, right? I'm going to show them the love of Jesus in the way that I can at that moment, right? If it's just talking or sharing or offering something, um, yeah, it's the
right.
little things. It really is. And I am definitely one of those that think often I should be changing the world. Oh, I should be doing this. I could be doing this. I could be doing this. And I I really think sometimes we just make it too big and we forget that the things that are the most impactful on our own lives are when someone shares their time with us. And so our gift
Mm,
of little things to others is just what people need.
right.
Jesus gave people.
Well, you do that very well for so many people, and
Ah, thank you.
you do it for me for sure. So thank you for being who you are, and thank you to all of you for being a part of this study. And I pray that there will be a transformation in your life as you experience the love of Christ in full and complete ways, that changes not just the big things, but every little moment of your life. So thanks for being with us.